Hello class and welcome back to another segment of Sketch Science. Today we're talking about ecosystems, and not just ecosystems, but what makes up an ecosystem, what's all in an ecosystem, and how do we go about classifying things in an ecosystem. So first, I want to get to what is an ecosystem. Well, an ecosystem is all things, all organisms, and their non-living counterparts in a single area. So it's all living and non-living things in a particular area. That's the quick definition of what an ecosystem is. All these living and non-living things, they interact with each other. Living things eat each other, they provide each other food. The non-living things provide shelter, air, water, everything that the living things need that aren't living, the non-living things provide. Now the stream or the rock probably doesn't know it's providing things because it's not a living thing. It doesn't have a mind of its own. It just exists, but it is still part of the ecosystem because without those things, living things couldn't live. Now, there are actually other words for living and non-living, and that's what we will be using for the rest of this. And those words are biotic and abiotic. Now, biotic factors, biotic things are living. They have life, bio, life. Now, abiotic, on the other hand, is non-living. And the reason is you see this little A in front of biotic. That A, when you see an A in front of a word like that, so if you take a word and then you throw A in it, it means not. So instead of the biotic, bio, living, it's abiotic. So abio, not living. A, when you put it in front of that word, means not. So like I said, an ecosystem. Ecosystem is all the living and non-living. It's the biotic and abiotic all in the same area. So in an ecosystem, like I said before with the food chain, when we went over that with the whole stream, the water here, that water is all abiotic. Water is not a living thing. It may be flowing, it may be moving, but it is not a living thing. These rocks on the wayside, they are not living things. But they have a job in the ecosystem. Things make those rocks their home. Things make the water their home. Things drink from the water. The air flowing through. So if it was to have wind going through, this wind going around on the outside, that's abiotic. But wind has a factor. Birds use the wind to glide. Other animals, they breathe the air. Wind is another form of air. It's the air moving around. So all of these things, these are all non-living. But you can also have biotic factors. Your grass and the rocks. Grass by the side of the water. All of these things are living. Grass is a living thing. What if you had a bush over here? Bushes are living things. They are biotic. So you have abiotic, biotic. Plants aren't the only biotic, though. You can also have other animals. You can have your rabbits. You can have little mice. You can have any other animals. You can have fish in the water. All of these things, they are biotic, they're living. So remember, abiotic, that's your rocks, it's your water, that's your air. Those are things that are not living, but they still have an effect. The living things depend on them. Then biotic are your living factors. It's the plants, it's the animals, it's the decomposers, your fungi. Fungi are not plants or animals, but they are living. Bacteria is a living thing that affects the ecosystem. All of these things, they are living, they are biotic. The rocks, the water, the air is abiotic. They are not living. Not. Now, how do we go about classifying things when it comes to ecosystems? Because animals, usually we start small and work our way up. What I mean by that is you need to know the different levels. So ecosystems have a bunch of different things in them. They have individuals. They have species. They have populations. And they have communities. They have all these things. Individual species, populations, communities. What does that mean? Well, in order to start, you would go from smallest to biggest. Individuals are the smallest and they work their way up. So first, what is an individual? Well, an individual is one. So if you're thinking about something, when we count things, like a census or anything, we always start with one. The smallest unit is one. You can't have zero because that would be like counting a giraffe in the bottom of the ocean as part of the ecosystem. There are no giraffes. There's zero, but zero is the smallest number, right? No, we start with one because otherwise we have to count every animal for everything. We're not putting giraffes at the bottom of the ocean. So we always start with one. Always start with one. That is our smallest amount. That's your individual. Individuals are one. It is a single organism in an ecosystem. Every single organism, every living thing in an ecosystem is an individual. Individual is one. It is a single. It is one number. Now, what is a species? So we have the smallest. Let's take one step up to species now. Individual is a single. It's one. A species. So if you've ever heard like the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Kingdom, phylum, class, order. That's how we name or classify animals, plants, bacteria, archaebacteria, fungi, all that. The kingdom is those things that we put them in. Then the phylum is like what type, class, and all the way down. We're just talking about this bottom one, the smallest, the species. What is a species? Well, a species is all like individuals or a set of all like individuals that can successfully produce fertile offspring. So a species, you might think of it as, oh, it's a cat, it's an alligator, it's a crocodile. A species is all like individuals. So everything is an individual. All things are unique. They're their own animal. Every animal is its own thing, but every animal also belongs to a species, which is all like individuals. So if you had a certain type of hippo, all of those hippos that exist are all part of that species. All of those individuals make up a species because they can reproduce together. They can produce offspring that is also fertile. Those offspring are able to have their own offspring. That's what a species is. If you can't produce offspring, or if a species tries to mix with another species, sometimes they can and they can produce offspring, but that offspring cannot produce its own. For example, a lion and a tiger can have a cub together, but that liger, the mix of the lion and the tiger, cannot have babies of its own. They can't because they are unable to. With the mix of the two species, yes, you can create another animal, but that animal can't continue that on. So, species, all like individuals that can successfully produce fertile offspring. Now, from that, we have to move up one more step to the next one, population. Populations are the total amount of individuals belonging to a single species. I'm going to move that word down. In one area. So if you're to think of population, when you think about people, if you're ever driving down the road or riding in a car and you see signs on the side of the road saying, welcome to blank city, population, whatever. A population is how many people are there. Populations count a single species though. Populations is how many bass are in this lake. How many largemouth bass, I should say, because there's plenty of types of that. How many cats are in this town? How many dragonflies are in this forest? That's a population, is how many of this one type of species, how many of those individuals. Because remember, each one of those number, if you had 11,293 of a certain animal there, you have 11,293 individuals. Those individuals are all part of the same species. That is your population. So you have that many individuals that all belong to a single species and they're all in one area. That is a population. See, we're getting a little bit bigger now. And finally, we have community. And a community is all populations living together in the same area/ecosystem. So every single one of those populations living in that area is all part of the community. The community is all of them. So we started small with the individual, with one. We started with a single being, and we took that being and we took all the things just like it and we turned it into a species. We took how many of those individuals in that species were all in that area, and we had our population. Now we did that with every single species in that ecosystem, that area. We took the population, so we found every single type of individual in that area. We found all of the like individuals. So we found out, okay, we have this individual. Now we found all the ones like it. That's its species. Let's count all of the things in that species in this area. That's the population. They did that over and over and over again for every single one in that area. And it became the community, because that's every single population. Every individual's species, or every species, all of its individuals made its population. Those populations all banded together to be a community. They all live in the same area. They all depend on the same things. They all depend on each other. That's what a community is. So when you think about an ecosystem, think small to big. Every individual has its purpose. And they're all part of of a species. Without species, there would be no continuing. Remember, species are like things that can reproduce to create fertile offspring, offspring that can have offspring of their own. That is what a species is, because if you think about it, if humans can't have kids, eventually they're all going to die out. That's why we're a species. We are all one. We can have kids of our own, and those kids can have kids, and those kids can have kids. That's what a species is. We keep it going. We keep our population going. And we are part of a community. There are other animals around us. If you were to look at the community of your city, sure, your city might have a population of people. People are all part of the same species. Every person is its own individual. But if you think about the community is not just the people. When people say take care of the community, they talk about picking up trash. They talk about doing this, they talk about doing that. And that doesn't only benefit the humans living there, it benefits all the animals in that area. It benefits all the plants in that area. Taking care of your community isn't just taking care of the people in your community, it's taking care of all living things in that community. It's taking care of the non-living things, because non-living things affect the community. If you have a river going through your town and everyone dumps their trash in it, that's going to kill off fish, that's going to kill off plants, and it's going to take the water source, a big water source for your town, it's going to affect it. Taking care of your community is cleaning up that stream, cleaning up that river. Because even though it might not directly be helping a single person, another person that you might say, oh, that person's my community, you're still helping the entire community. Communities are more than just your species. That's your population. You can go and help people all day and help your population. But to help the community is to help everything. Now, if you have any questions about the video, feel free to leave a comment. Also, like the video so that, one, I know you like it, and two, so you can find the video a lot easier. And finally, subscribe. That way, you'll be able to find my content easier. And also, you can get notified depending on when I put a new video out. Now, once you do these things, if you comment, if you ask any questions, let me know what kind of videos you might want to see next. And I will make sure to see you next time.